Incremental routines. So in this video, we're going to focus on the art of honest deprioritization. It's hard to do it. It's hard to be honest. When you have to set lower priorities, meaning it's likely you will send that to the oblivion. So what is the core challenge? Our own cognitive limitations. We're human. The practice of actively and regularly deprioritizing knowledge is crucial for long-term success. Yet it is often described as very hard and very painful, which is actually true, especially at the beginning. But this difficulty stems from a psychological resistance to confronting our own cognitive limitations. We must accept a fundamental truth. We cannot know everything that you want to know. We have to filter, to select. In my time frame, in my entire lifetime, what I can learn is limited. I cannot learn everything there is, obviously, but not even everything I want to. Even if I filter just what I want, it's still too much. I need still to filter more. That's the pain. You have to learn how to let go of that opportunity. That I could do it, but I prefer this other one that will prevent me to do this. Not in my lifetime. Therefore, the overloaded mind is a leaky vessel or bucket. To retain what is most important, we must be willing to let some things go. A little analogy. It's like not only rephrased of different maxims. If you want success, you need to choose. Then, what is the key to success? The consistent deprioritization, setting lower priorities. In a learning system with a high volume of information, which will happen eventually in your collection, you're doomed to this situation. As long as you use incremental reading how it's meant to be used, you will face this. Then, consistent deprioritization is the key to your own success. We have said that. Okay, let's dig further on this. Then, the consistent deprioritization is the most effective way to improve your priority protection. Remember, it's a metric. If it's 5%, means you are covering the 0 to 5% of your priority queue. Meaning, what is 6 out of 100 is waiting for you. Ensuring that the most critical knowledge is reviewed at the right time. So at least you can guarantee that 5% is not neglected. I say 5% as an example, but doesn't have to be 5%. It's not like the p-value in research that has to be 5%. In my case, it's lower than that. And if you have a huge collection, could be lower than 1%, your priority protection. Because if I have 500,000 elements, 1% is a lot more. So don't think of the value as something hard-coded. Then think of it as a triage for your brain. The consistent deprioritization is a triage for your brain, ensuring vital information receives the attention it needs to survive. Because if you don't, that memory will die. And those memories are of more high value, high importance, high priority. So imagine like your brain is a huge hospital with thousands of people, sick people. And you need to triage. And whatever you don't choose will die. And that person will face death which could be prevented by choosing that person. You must accept this pain. You have to choose. There's not enough time for that. Then, a shift in perspective, from rejection to scheduling. So to overcome this psychological hurdle, reframe what it means to deprioritize. So deprioritize is not about labeling knowledge as unimportant or useless. Instead, creating a relative gradient of importance, sequencing your attention over a lifetime. Meaning that, okay, like going back to the patients, in a huge hospital, You're just the patient number 20,465. I make this up. So, wait online. It's very likely you will die. You will pass away during waiting, but, well, some people won't, right? You never know. It's a change on the scope. I'm not thinking I'm sending those people to the guaranteed death. What I do is I'm just sequencing. You are very far away. That's what I'm doing. Deprioritizing is not an act of rejection. I'm not telling no, you're not going to be attended in this hospital. Is that you're not going to be attended before these other 20,000 people. It's not the same thing. So deprioritization is not an act of rejection, but an act of strategic long-term scheduling. Long-term, that can be for decades. Like what I have rest, what I have remaining in my lifetime. Hey, I'm sending this to when I will be, hopefully I will get there, retired. Perhaps I have more important stuff during those decades, and this will be sent and be postponed even further, and I won't see it and I will die without seeing it. Most likely, most of the things will happen like that, but some, they don't. That's why I'm not sending them to their death. It's a change in perspective. Next is attention now and attention later. A low priority item isn't deleted from your collection. It's simply moved to the back of the queue or the bottom of the queue. We could see in practice, most of the time will be the same, the equivalent, like dismissing. It's not deleted, but it's so far away in the priority queue that you're not going to see it. For instance, Piotr Wozniak, in his own collection, he has the longest collection, at least in time. Sometimes he postponed a repetition for more than 15 years. He's 15 years late when that was scheduled, right? And it has been because of a search. Meaning that if 15 years later he hadn't had a related interest, that would have kept waiting and waiting. So you never know. It's not sending to death. It's just sending to a very long outstanding, to the future. Most likely to their death, but it's not exactly the same. Not always. The item may be revisited months or even years later when you have the capacity, like the example I did, Modern Liar, of 15 years later. Wait, not 15 years later, is whatever the interval plus 15 years. You are 15 years over time. This changes the framework from painful, important versus important, from the painful, important versus unimportant decision to more manageable attention now versus attention later strategy. This later can be some decades. You don't even know because it's not about the date. I'm not scheduling this for 2025 or 2040. No. I put it at the bottom of my priority queue, and this could be whatever years. Okay. Then the actionable guideline for honest deprioritization. Here are two rules that you can do. Rule of thumb. That is already something we have seen and is the golden rule of prioritization. If you hesitate between lower priority and higher priority, use a lower. It's always guaranteed it's better. Gotcha. But we are adding a second now. The honesty check. If all of your elements get priorities of 1 and 10%, let's say, something that you always work with, could be 5%, 20, whatever, you will identify yourself that when you import in your collection, you always have a range, right? And most of the time you work on that range. Then you're not being honest. You are you're victim of your own biases. And whatever you do is perpetually within that range. Then some of the new material must be down. 80s, 90s, depends on your collection, how many folders you have, and the ratio, folders versus topics, memorized topics and items. For instance, a third of my collection are folders, are just placeholders, in the priority queue. Therefore, this is not that meaningful for me. Depends on your collection. That's because I deleted a lot of stuff. That's why I have this weird ratio. Then this provides a simple, measurable way to audit your own behavior and ensure you're truly prioritizing. We reached the end of the slides, but I want to share one example. It's bittersweet, but it's real. And the older you get, the more obvious it is. So you may have had friends or just colleagues. So it's not a very close friend. There are some degrees, right? Okay. It's just a buddy, whatever. You enjoy this relationship for years, but at some point, it stops. It goes slow, gradually, incrementally, lower and lower. Let's say it was friends, we were in college, then everyone lives in a different city or even a different country, and it's not the same experience. We don't see every day. We are not studying the same thing that we had in common. We have families and so on, right? More or less the cliche. Okay. This is something like deprioritizing this relationship. I'm talking to you less often. I don't enjoy much of your company as before, right? And sometimes sucks because it's not something you desire. It just happens in life. To the point that you don't even know when was the last time you saw that person, that friend. You were not even aware that day was the last day we will see each other, right? So it's the same thing. It will be an item that it's in my collection, it's in my memory. I didn't forgot that person, but it's just this. It's a memory to me. I'm not going to see that person again in my life. It's hard, but it's honest. It's honest. Most likely, most of that people you're not going to see again. Same for items. I hope you got the analogy. And then, it's not a big deal. Perhaps I dramatized a little here. But it's the point of this video. You need to accept you cannot be friends with everyone you have been in your life. You need to prioritize. Prioritizing, spending time with person A means you're not spending time with person B and C and D, and so on. And the more you distribute, the less time you spend with each person individually, right? See for items. There's way too much information. From this information, what you select is still too much. From what you prioritize, it will be still too much. So you have to make this choice. I'm setting a low priority, meaning it's extremely likely I will never see it again, even though that doesn't mean this. I can recover that by serendipity, by search, by subset, and whatever that may be. But most of the time, you're sending stuff to oblivion. And it's just what it is. If you don't use incremental reading, you're doing the same thing, minus memorizing, you forget a lot more, and with this forgetting, you are less aware of this. Imagine you have like a software that reminds you every single friend, every single buddy, every single acquaintance you had in life, and reminding, hey, you haven't seen that person in 20 years, this guy in 5 years, and so on. You will have the impression that, oh shoot, it's worse than I thought. This is what happens in incremental reading. It's on your face, because I'm seeing I have 19,000 topics waiting for me, but I don't have the time for them. Even though I selected this, there's more stuff waiting for me to import. It's not even in my collection. Imagine that. Hope this helps. See you incrementally. This is just what it is. There's nothing new. It's just the awareness could be more painful, could create it. It's just that the fact that you are aware of this, of what you're missing out, is what it makes it more painful in that case, or bittersweet. That's it for now. See you incrementally.